organization in Germany, and I would like this panel to become as India was sitting in my chair. So, dear guests, European government keep on.
I've heard of them, and I've heard of the statement of the Russian embassy. I think it's all in a way predictable. How far these organizations may have been supported by Russia, I don't know, but I could imagine that happening. Things like that have even happened in Western Europe in the Cold War period, when we later on found out that some of the demonstrations and organizations that were acting in the names of peace and disarmament in Western Europe were actually supported by the Soviet Union. So,
which countries do you refer to?
Well, in Germany, for instance, the peace movement has been then shown to have received money from Moscow, and I mean, that doesn't mean that these particular demonstrations now in Montenegro are directly supported and initiated by Russia, but the suspicion sort of arises. I mean, as I said, I cannot comment anything more on Montenegro. I don't know about things here. I think what should be done is to research and to investigate very carefully the nature of these protests and what's going on in Montenegrin society, and if there are indeed signs that Russia is fueling these protests, then they have to be exposed. There's a rich West European experience with that. I mean, the odd thing or the interesting thing about this, that much of this toolkit that Russia is using today is actually the old toolkit of the Soviet Union and the KGB, the psychological operations, the active measures, what's today called political technology. These are all things that come out from the Soviet times and which have been used in West European countries, even in the US, and that are now applied also to East European countries. And I mean, it's very difficult to talk about, because the nature of these operations is that they are hidden, that they are secret, and often one only finds out then later on, weeks or months or even years later, about such operations.
That we've seen a very, I would say, clear strategic response from Russia, speaking from the Russian perspective, to gain influence and foothold in the countries that it sees to be within its rightful sphere of influence. Of course, we've seen this developing since Georgia and Moldova, and of course now Ukraine. And so to hear a response from the Russian Foreign Ministry so denouncing the potential European integration and NATO integration of a country like Montenegro is not surprising, because I think there is a perspective that the Balkan states are still within Russian influence and should stay that way. And we've seen Russia use sort of a number of levers of influence to maintain some sort of presence in national politics within multiple Central Eastern European countries. One of those is, of course, the economic lever and the energy lever. We've seen a mass politicization of energy supplies, gas supplies in particular, where Russia uses that as a way to influence politics within national governments. And of course, we're talking about the influence of potential direct support for either far-right or far-left groups. Again, I can't speak to if we've seen any evidence of that in Montenegro specifically, but there is, of course, evidence in other countries like Hungary, for example, that we've seen direct Russian support and accusations of Russian support for the far-right Jobbik party in Hungary. And even in Western Europe, we've seen Russian financial influence with the French National Front. So we do see these patterns, so it's not outside the realm of possibilities that we're seeing the same thing in Montenegro.
So you're not surprised with these kind of reaction of Moscow?
I don't think it's surprising. I think it's very much within their toolkit of foreign policy and strategy.
And do you believe that this will be the last move of Moscow regarding Montenegro's European integrations?
I doubt it.
So I'll ask you, what is it follows? What can we expect now?
It's a hard question to answer. I think we can expect increasingly more similar statements coming out from Russia.
Only statements.
Potential support, like I said, I can't speak directly. Maybe that is already the case here. That maybe, again, we don't have any evidence as far as I know about direct support for some of these opposition groups. As I said, it wouldn't be surprising if such evidence came out because it's been happening across Central Eastern Europe and even Western Europe. But I think the Montenegro and other countries that see their path towards European integration, not towards alignment with the Russian Federation, are going to have to face these kinds of challenges. You know, how to address fissures and potential conflict within their own societies that is then being fueled by Russian influence, Russian media, Russian disinformation. And I think it places the national government in a very difficult situation.